Today is Friday, November the 18th, 2022, and I am joined by alumnus, Commander Russell Cormican, class of 1970, who's going to speak with us today and tell us about his experience at Broward College and beyond. Russ, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. I appreciate you asking me to do this.
Can you tell us a bit about your background, where you grew up, and what ultimately led you to choose to study at Broward College?
Sure. I'm actually a Broward County guy. My family moved to Dania. I think it's called Dania Beach now, but back when I was there, it was called Dania. And there were eight of us in our family. I come from a large family, and grew up there in Dania, and went to all the local schools and all that, and played sports. And when I got to, I guess you'd say, of draft age, they used to have the military draft back in those days. And I was working full time after high school. I graduated from South Broward High School in 1964, and got a full-time job and was going to college in the evening, and was trying to move ahead with my life, but it was very difficult because I was draft bait. I was 1A, what they call it, and that's I think the highest category. And so I got tired of waiting around to be drafted, and went down and talked to some military recruiters and decided on the Army, and took a battery of tests. And the recruiter told me, he said, "Hey, you scored really well on your test," which was maybe a slight surprise to me, because I always thought I was kind of an intelligent guy, but I wasn't very dedicated in high school, didn't make the greatest grades, but always passed everything. And but I had other interests. And so anyway, long story short, I ended up signing up for the Army, and that was in March of 1966. And it was a 3-year active commitment and 3 years inactive. I went to basic training, and there's a kind of an old saying in the Army that you go in as a boy and come out as a man. And so I think that really applied to my case. I was in the basic training, and I got called into what they call the day room, like a little meeting room, to meet with some officers. And I guess due to my scores and stuff, they offered me an opportunity to be considered to attend West Point, United States Military Academy. And it was quite a commitment, though, because I had to go to like several years of prep school, and then 4 years at West Point, and then 6 years active duty after that. And I was doing the math real quick in my head, and I thought, I'm 19 years old. That's a heck of a commitment. And so, long story short, I turned them down. I didn't take advantage of that, and I went on with my training. And I was after basic combat training, I went to some pretty high-tech type training up in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and I had to have like a secret security clearance and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of a big deal for a 19-year-old guy from Dania, Florida, with a family of 8. So they actually sent some investigator out and knocked on my neighbors' doors and things like that. But long story short, I got through all that, and I started interacting with the young officers that I worked with. I was eventually sent to Korea. Most of the people in the preceding classes where I was at, they were either going to Europe in support of NATO, or they were going to Vietnam. And when I graduated in November of 1966, it was kind of a surprise that myself and a number of other young guys got sent to Korea. And what we didn't realize at the time, it was the start of what military historians now call, excuse me just a minute, sorry about that. But it was the start of the Second Korean conflict. Apparently, while we were just ready to graduate from that training, President Lyndon Johnson, who was the American president at the time, he was in South Korea. And while he was there, him and his wife were actually in the capital of Korea. And the North Korean insurgents came across the DMZ and killed a bunch of soldiers. And so things heated up in a hurry, needless to say. And so I was kind of like that first wave of reinforcements, so to speak, that were sent to Korea. And they now say that one of the reasons that happened, I think there were a number of reasons, but they were really testing America's resolve to see if we would fight on two fronts in Vietnam and Korea. And it was kind of an unsettling time to be there, mostly routine, but we were always having alerts, mobilizations. And in June, while I was there, I guess that would have been June of '67, we actually had some North Korean insurgents come right into the town where I was stationed and killed 4 police officers and a civilian. And so it was it was a little bit of a stressful time, but I've been fortunate. I've always been able to handle stress fairly well. But anyway, I interacted with a lot of young officers, and the main thing that they had that I didn't have is they had a college degree. And I really kind of respected these people. And so it kind of opened my eyes to, maybe I should get a little bit more serious. And so I got out of the military. I came home from a 13-month deployment in Korea, and I got married. I had gotten engaged to my sweetheart, who is still my wife 55 years later. And anyway, so we were a military family. The first year of our marriage was also the last year of my active duty obligation. And when we got discharged and came back home, that's when I enrolled in Broward. I think it was Broward Community College at the time. And now this is really a good deal that it's Broward College, and they offer 4-year degrees. And it'd been nice if they'd have done that back in the day, as you say, So anyway, but that's I probably got a little bit long-winded, but now that kind of brings us up to what was I doing at Broward College. And I had an interest in police work from being in the military. And it's kind of weird, because when I first came back from Korea, I was thinking like, phew, I'm finally back in the States, we're safe and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't back in the States very long when Martin Luther King got assassinated. And that was, I think, on April 4th of 1968. And my unit that I was in got like mobilized and sent around the country to different places where there was a lot of civil unrest and stuff like that. And so, we got through all of that. And I started at Broward College. And at the time, they called it, as I remember, it was referred to as a police science degree. And at some point during the 2 years that I was there, they kind of went away from the police science and they started calling it criminal justice degree. And I think I may be the first, or certainly one of the first people to ever get a criminal justice degree from Broward College. So for whatever that's worth, it's just sort of an interesting tidbit to me anyway. So
I'll look into that to see, but one of the first, that's something to note.
Yeah. So while I was there, it's kind of like trying to transition back into some other type of life, when you're in the military and you've done certain things and all that. And I got involved with the formation of this thing called the Veterans Club. It was XGI. I put that in that little article that I wrote. The young people that were involved with the Greek fraternities, they had the Greek lettering, and so we had the XGI to kind of counter them. And it was a bunch of young people, like me, that were transitioning and trying to get their civilian life started and get some education and all. And that was really a big help to me to be able to kind of assimilate and deal with some stresses and things like that, because you're around a bunch of other people that have been through similar type circumstances. And we had guys there from probably that had served everywhere. Some of them maybe in the States or Europe or Korea or Vietnam or wherever. It was a pretty good mix of people, and we were fairly active you know, in our group, you know, help, and we got involved in a lot of different school functions and stuff like that. And then at some point,
did you take on any leadership roles within XGI or other areas?
No, you know, I don't remember being in a leadership role with XGI, but I did run for Senate, the student government, SGA. I don't know if, I guess they still have that. And so I got elected to be on the Senate of the Student Government Association. And I did that for, I don't know, probably a year or so, my last semester or two I was there. So, and then anyway, I ended up, you know, graduating with a 2-year degree. And eventually, not long after that, I went to work for the Hollywood Police Department. And then I start, you know, you get involved in your career, you know, you're getting different assignments. And I could see, you know, fairly early on that if you really wanted to advance to a higher level, you needed more than just the associate's degree. And so I got busy, got back in school, and St. Thomas University down in Miami, they were offering quite a deal for young police officers. It was very affordable for us. And they actually sent adjunct faculty members up to the police department. We had a nice meeting room there, and they would teach the classes in the evening. So we would, you know, like depending on what shift you were on, you know, you'd catch a class at the beginning or end of your shift, and they were, you know, very accommodating to us. And so I finished up my bachelor's degree with them, and then as my career progressed, and I, you know, made it, I was through detective and sergeant and lieutenant and all that. And the chief that I was working for at the time, his name was Dick Witt, Chief Richard Witt. And he was a guy that was retired from the city of Miami Police Department. I think he was like a colonel down there. And then he became our chief in Hollywood. And he had this, he was a big advocate of formal education, which I am also. And he said, if you want to be a member of my command staff, you have to have a master's degree, at least a master's degree. And I think a lot of agencies have kind of gone away from that now. But anyway, so I knew what I had to do if I wanted to advance to the next level of my career. So I went to the Florida International University and earned my master's degree. And then I was fortunate enough to get promoted, and I served the last, whatever number of my, maybe last 4 years or something in my career, I served as a major, and I was like an interim deputy chief for a while. So anyway, and then I wrapped up my career in Hollywood, and I was relatively young retiree. You know, in police work, it really takes its toll on you mentally and physically. And so you don't see a lot of really old cops around, at least in the South Florida environment. So I retired, and then I was active in a lot of professional police organizations, and I found out that the city of Daytona Beach was looking for a, they called it a commander, but it was basically a deputy chief. And so I looked at all the requirements that education, experience, background, training, etc. And I thought, you know, I could do that. That sounds, I have all those credentials and all. But we were sort of happily retired and living. They just bought a new home down in South Florida. So I told my wife about it, and I said, what do you think if I apply for this? And she said, yeah, go ahead and give it a shot, because we love Daytona Beach. We, on our honeymoon 55 years ago, we came up to Daytona Beach on our honeymoon. And then I've always been like a big racing fan. So we came up a number of years for the Daytona stock car races. And then I was into motorcycles for a while, and we came up for the motorcycle events and all that. So we always loved Daytona. It was kind of like our playground. And So my wife says, yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. She's probably thinking like, you're not going to get that anyway, so, wives are. So anyway, so I applied, and long story short, through a series of events, I competed with a number of other people from around the country, and I came up here, and they hired me, and so I worked there for several years, and then I went back into retirement, and that's when Daytona State College, they contacted me, and they said, they asked me if I was planning on staying in the area and if I'd be interested in coming out and being like a part of their adjunct staff, teaching different law enforcement classes. There, a lot of law enforcement classes, you need at least a master's degree to teach. And it has to be a master's degree in criminal justice, which just so happened I had. So long story short, I came out and I worked with them for, I think it was like 13 years. And I taught, basically anything they asked me to teach, I could teach. And then I got involved with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as a subject matter expert. And I helped develop quite a bit of their training curriculum, that type of thing. So it's been a really interesting career, but, kind of winding it back to Broward College, probably a lot of these successes and attitude and stuff that I had were really, I got a great foundation, at Broward College, because like I said, I wasn't a real strong student coming out of high school. I knew I was intelligent, but I wasn't like focused, dedicated, that type of thing. And I had a couple of really good, like adjunct professor, instructor type people. I know one was Bill McCarthy, and the other one was, I think his name was John McGowan. And they were guys, they were good Irishmen, obviously, with names like McCarthy and McGowan. And they were, as I remember, they were both retired from the New York City Police Department, and then they were teaching there at Broward College. And they had access to other law enforcement professionals from the local area that would come in and teach classes and things like that. So I had like this really wealth of information available, and this professional attitude. And I remember these guys. It's probably not like that today, perhaps, but they would always come in and they'd always have on like a suit or a sports jacket, a dress shirt, maybe a tie. They dressed what I would consider appropriately. And I always taught my classes like that 13 years that I was at Daytona Beach. I always tried to dress professional and set the example for the students, and be there. I tried to some extent model myself after the professors that that tutored me along when I was at Broward College. So, the old saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And when these young, soon-to-be police officers come through the door, I want them to appreciate that they're dealing with the real deal type thing, like I was when I was a young rookie type guy down there in Broward County. So, yeah.
Well, that's great to hear, because I did want to ask you, because you arrived at Broward College already with that experience and a very mature worldview, what you would have taken from being at, the college at that time. And it sounds like the impact was for the quality of the education that you got from people who had, worked in the field and who, presented themselves in that manner. And that's something that you carried on, sort of a legacy of that time.
And, in Broward College back then, I don't think it looked anything like it looks today. There wasn't, a whole lot to it. I suppose some of those old buildings are probably still there, but there was, it was mostly like big grassy fields between several buildings, so I haven't been around the campus a whole lot in the last, because it was 22 years ago that we came up here to Broward County. And there have been a number of my family members have attended Broward College over the years. I have a son that still lives down there in South Florida. He's an attorney, and when he got out of high school, he's easy to find. He's got the same name that I have. So, and when he got out of high school, he went to Broward College for several years and graduated. And then he ended up going to Florida State University in Tallahassee and got his undergrad degree. And then he went to law school there. And he's had his own law practice down there in Broward County for like, I don't know, 20, 25, 26 years, something like that. So,
well, that's interesting. So it's sort of law and order. And
exactly. Yeah. The old cop, and I wouldn't call him old attorney. He's a lot younger than me, but he's been around a while. So, yeah. And then I have another son that was very successful in his career, but he didn't go to Broward College. He went to the University of Central Florida, and he's with Disney Animation now. He's a director on doing Disney movies. He's been out in Burbank, California for a number of years now, and been involved in a lot of really successful animation projects out there. So he's been nominated for an Emmy about 3 different times.
Oh,
and
perfect.
Yeah, so my guys have done great, and then I'm so blessed to have my wife. She's always been the one that's been there for us and supported us, and enabled us to do the things that we've been able to do. So I've had many blessings in my life, and probably most of them I don't deserve, but it's been a good run, and I have fantastic memories of Broward College. So.
Well, Russ, in closing, with your long service of, your service in public safety and also in education, is there anything that you want to offer to students who are interested in sort of a similar path?
Yeah, I am a huge education advocate, and anyone who's interested in going into law enforcement, particularly, I say, get that education, get it while you're young, when you're right out of high school, because, I sort of have this saying that education won't make you a good cop, but if you're a good cop, education will make you a better cop. And, just maybe you can have a little more empathy for people, the old saying, treat others the way you would want to be treated, that type of thing. And just, the background of knowledge and, understanding maybe like the bigger picture or whatever. So, there's all different ways to get ahead in life. A lot of people want to, go to vocational schools and go into the trades and all that kind of stuff. But in today's police world, it's such a litigious society, and there's so many places that if you're not careful, you can, really get jammed up. But if your heart's in the right place and you're trying hard to do the right thing, and you're treating other people the way you would want to be treated, you're going to have some rough spots along the way. But listen, that's going to happen no matter what you do for a living. So, but I say get all the education you can get all the training you can get, and that would be my main advice for people.
Ross, I know you've had a busy life, professionally and education-wise. So how do you keep busy now, or you just enjoy not being busy?
No, we stay real busy. I'm involved in a number of veterans association, veterans of foreign wars, and disabled veterans, and Catholic War veterans, and that kind of stuff. So if there's anything that's out there that's veteran that I'm eligible for, I join it. And then I'm fairly active in my church. I'm a Eucharistic minister over here at the Prince of Peace Catholic Church in Ormond Beach, and I'm in the Knights of Columbus, and I'm in their Color Corps, and I'm in the Catholic War Veterans. So between the church activities and the veteran stuff, we stay pretty busy doing that type of thing. So.
Well, and that's great that these other organizations get to, experience a bit of the benefit of your experience and leadership as well. I hope that we can maybe touch base again and talk in the future. And I'll share your talk also with our veterans groups here on campus. Russ, thank you very much for sharing with us again. Sort of proud to have you as a part of the Broward College family history. It's very meaningful to have your perspective and to bring up some of the things that you did and the impact of the college in your path. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Anthony, and you have a great day and a great weekend, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Thank you.